So you did it. You finally launched that new SaaS platform. The consultants are gone, the users are live, you should be celebrating, right? But instead of popping champagne, you're busier than ever. Every single day is a firefight. Performance issues, urgent fixes, users complaining. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. And that feeling of being trapped, it has a name.
This quote just hits it right on the head, doesn't it? It's that reactive cycle where you're constantly just trying to keep things from breaking, with zero time or energy left to actually make things better. And this state of constant crisis, that's what we call the operations prison.
Okay, so let's be super clear about what this means. The ops prison isn't just about being busy, it's about being trapped on a treadmill. All your effort goes into stability, not strategy. You're running hard, but going absolutely nowhere. The big question is, how do you end up in this prison? Well, it doesn't happen by accident. It's built brick by brick on some very common and very dangerous myths.
So, what we're going to do now is break down the 4 big, flawed beliefs that actually construct the walls of this prison. You have to understand them before you can tear them down, right? So let's dive in with the biggest and most common one.
This is the big kahuna. It's this belief in so many organizations that once the system is live, the heavy lifting is done. The major investment is over. You can almost hear leadership saying, it just runs now, right? Wrong. So wrong. And that one simple assumption is where all the damage really begins.
And the fallout is immediate, and it is severe. The budget just vanishes, reallocated to the next shiny project. Critical knowledge walks right out the door with the contractors who built the thing, and a small, often unprepared internal team is left holding the bag. They're stranded with no budget, no backup, and zero breathing room. The firefighting cycle begins almost immediately.
And that first myth leads directly into the second one. This idea that moving to the cloud means you can drastically cut your operations team. I'm willing to bet the original business case even promised cost savings from this. But the reality is, SaaS doesn't necessarily need a smaller team.
It needs a different kind of team. You need specialists who can absorb the constant stream of change from quarterly updates. You need pattern hunters who can look at a flood of support tickets and actually identify the root cause, not just close them one by one. And you absolutely need integration experts, because your SaaS platform does not live in a vacuum. Staffing for a simple, steady state is a recipe for disaster.
Now, this myth usually comes straight from the top. Leadership often treats buying a SaaS platform like buying a car. You pay for it once, and then you just drive it. They're expecting an immediate and permanent return on that investment. But that's just not how SaaS works. The platform is constantly evolving, quarter after quarter.
And this analogy just illustrates the problem perfectly. If you don't evolve your processes and your skills along with the platform's updates, the gap between what the system could do for you and what it actually does just gets wider with every single release. You're leaving an incredible amount of value on the table.
The final myth is maybe the most insidious of them all. It's the failure to even define what a healthy system looks like. You end up flying completely blind, with no clear metrics for system performance, for its health, or even for user adoption.
Without KPIs, you're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Under the surface, problems are slowly building up. Performance degrades, users quietly abandon features, and by the time the issue is big enough to break the surface, it's a full-blown crisis. And here's the crucial point. You can't justify the budget to fix what leadership can't even see.
So we've seen how the prison is built, and I know it sounds a little grim, but the good news is there is a key to unlock the door. It's a single, powerful structural change that I have personally seen transform teams from reactive firefighters into proactive innovators.
This was a huge turning point for me, personally. I was leading a team that handled everything, projects, support, you name it. We were completely overwhelmed. Then one day, on a train ride from New York, my VP said these exact words to me. And honestly, it felt like a blow at the time, but it turned out to be the smartest decision we ever made.
And you can see the result of that split right here. We created a dedicated run team focused only on stability, on keeping the lights on. The other team became the improve team, focused purely on projects and transformation. The difference a year later was like night and day. Both teams were thriving. Projects moved faster, quality was way up, and all that constant operational noise was just gone.
So let's break down how you should think about these two teams. The run team is all about stability. Their job is reactive by nature. They handle incidents, they manage business as usual tasks, they test the quarterly updates. The improve team, on the other hand, is proactive.
Their job is to make things better, run transformation projects, optimize processes, build new capabilities. It's a different focus, different work, and a completely different mindset.
This also explains why outsourcing so often fails to solve the problem. Most managed service contracts are structured overwhelmingly for run work. We're talking like 95% of the budget goes to break, fix, and tickets. You simply can't expect strategic transformation when you've only contracted your partner for a measly 5% of innovation. You haven't escaped the prison, you've just outsourced it.
Okay, so splitting the team is the foundational fix, but it needs to be supported by the right habits and principles. So let's look at the toolkit that high-performing teams use to stay free for good.
Here are 5 core principles. We've talked a lot about number 5, the foundational split, but the others are just as critical. It's about treating all that operational noise as data, actively measuring friction, investing in your team's skills, and being absolutely ruthless about protecting their time to do deep work. Now, let's zoom in on what friction really means.
See, friction isn't always a system crash. It's the silent killers. It's the hours your team spend manually reconciling data because a proper integration got deprioritized. It's all the shadow spreadsheets people keep on the side because they don't trust the system. These are the things that never show up in an incident log, but they absolutely drain your organization's productivity.
And when you actually start to measure this friction, the number of hours lost each and every week is staggering. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a massive, quantifiable cost to the business. And measuring it is the only way you can justify the investment to finally eliminate it.
Now, this is a question that I think every leader needs to ask themselves. We demand certification from a temporary project manager who might be here for 3 months, but the permanent team that's managing the multi-million-dollar platform the entire business runs on? We often just expect them to learn on the fly. It makes absolutely no sense. Continuous learning isn't a nice-to-have, it's a survival tactic.
We've covered the prison, the myths that build it, and the keys to escape. Now let's bring this all back to you and your team. The path from just surviving to truly thriving, it starts with a simple, honest assessment. I want you to genuinely think about this. What was the ratio for your team this past week? How much time was spent on deep, proactive improvement versus reactive firefighting? The answer to that one question will tell you exactly how close you are to the ops prison or how far you've managed to escape.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. It's so easy to feel like you're trapped by budgets, or by leadership, or by the system itself. But the power to change this dynamic, to split the teams, to measure what matters, and to invest in your people, that power is in your hands. You just have to remember, the prison door isn't locked from the outside.